a critical counsel to be able to help me make sure that I was understanding and aware of everything that had transpired and preparing for what might be next, including this committee hearing. Mark Zaid and I have never spoken about politics. I never asked him about his politics. He has never asked me about my politics. He is a well-credentialed counsel.
So you're claiming to be naive about Mark Zaid's political activity as he sits behind you, advising you for this hearing.
I have not
and helping you through this process.
I have not had any discussions with Mr. Zaid associated with his politics.
This may look like a simple dispute over who a government official chose to represent them, but it's actually a confrontation about power, loyalty, and the boundaries between politics and public institutions. What's really being tested here is whether leadership inside critical agencies is allowed to operate with professional independence, or whether every action must be filtered through partisan identity. This raises broader questions about how America expects its institutions to function. Are experts allowed to seek counsel without political approval, or does everything now signal allegiance? In this video, we'll break down how this exchange exposes tension between law, loyalty, and the credibility of our democratic governance, and why moments like this determine whether Americans can trust the systems meant to protect them.
Dr. Monarez, I understand you have retained attorneys to dispute your firing. Is that correct? I believe they're with you today.
Not to dispute the firing. I have been fired. They're here to help me prepare for this, to make sure that I was in a position to be able to communicate effectively what transpired.
So their purpose is to support you just for today, or is there another purpose that those attorneys
They have been supporting
for you?
They have been supporting me since knowing that there was so much complexity associated with what happened.
What just happened isn't simply procedural questioning. It's a move to delegitimize before debate even begins. When officials are framed as suspicious for securing legal counsel, it shifts hearings away from accountability and toward intimidation. That matters because democratic oversight only works when witnesses can participate without fear of political framing. And if this becomes normal, future testimony could become shaped by fear rather than truth.
I'm curious, did Mark Zaid connect with you, or did you reach out to him?
I believe.
How did you connect with him?
I was given his contact information.
He didn't contact you?
I don't actually recall.
You just said a moment ago that you were given his contact information. Who gave you his contact information?
I received it from a number of different individuals. I think with my termination being as abrupt as it was, people were concerned about the support structures that I would need to be able to make sure that I understood.
I just want to make this clear. He didn't reach out to you. You were given his number and you reached out to him. Is that correct? That's what you just said. Is that?
I believe that is correct, although I don't have perfect.
I'm going to ask one more time. He didn't reach out to you.
I don't believe he reached out to me.
Of the thousands of lawyers that you...
This exchange signals something deeper than curiosity. It attempts to suggest unseen orchestration, that support systems are suspicious by default. When lawmakers imply conspiracy without evidence, the standard of proof shifts from facts to insinuation. The consequence is erosion of institutional trust, where citizens are told not to question power, but to distrust expertise.
You could hire to help you through this process. Why Mark Zaid?
You know, look, the moments, the hours after I had been terminated, I was concerned in a number of different facets associated with my termination. One of the things that I wanted to make sure I did was have clarity of understanding of what had transpired and what would I...
You don't seem naive at all. You have to know that Mark Zaid is a leading opponent of President Trump, notorious for his online activity that is very anti-Trump. He was heavily involved in President Trump's first impeachment. Why did you hire a guy like that, of all the thousands of attorneys? And furthermore, he advised his clients to leave the country after President Trump won the 2024 election. Why would you hire a guy like that?
So I actually was not aware of any of those.
This isn't about performance, it's about loyalty enforcement. Once political identity becomes the deciding factor in who is allowed to represent you, independence disappears. That matters because the health of democratic institutions depends on neutrality, not enforced allegiance. If we normalize that only approved counsel is acceptable, we normalize a dangerous culture of political compliance.
Details associated with Mark.
He's right behind you. Brought him with you today. Notorious for his anti-Trump activity and involvement. And you hired that guy.
Yeah, so I was seeking some critical counsel to be able to help me make sure that I was understanding and aware of everything that had transpired and preparing for what might be next, including this committee hearing. Mark Zaid and I have never spoken about politics. I never asked him about his politics. He has never asked me about my politics. He is a well-credentialed counsel.
So you're claiming to be naive about Mark Zaid's political activity as he sits behind you, advising you for this hearing.
I have not
and helping you through this process.
I have not had any discussions with Mr. Zaid associated with his politics.
Her response reframes the core issue, whether public officials are allowed to operate based on professional judgment. The moment highlights a deeper struggle, expertise versus political pressure. If leaders must prove loyalty instead of competence, governance stops being about results and becomes about obedience. The impact isn't just on hearings, it affects every decision that touches public well-being.
That's astonishing. Doctor, during your confirmation hearing, you testified about your priorities to, quote, support President Trump and Secretary Kennedy's vision of a healthier America. Those were your words. Did your priorities change along the way?
My priorities have not changed.
And when you were serving as acting CDC director and then nominated and confirmed, you obviously understood President Trump and Secretary Kennedy's priorities, the MAHA priorities. You obviously understood those. What changed along the way?
The only thing that changed was the demands that I compromised my integrity. I still support that we need to make our children healthier. I still support that we need to do all of the things I had.
You determined along the way that you weren't aligned with President Trump and Secretary Kennedy.
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. The only
Tell us more about the conversation that you had with Secretary Kennedy about your trustworthiness.
Yep, he had become, so three things had happened.
And you denied to Senator Tuberville that you yourself told Secretary Kennedy that you are untrustworthy.
I did not say I.
How did you say that?
He asked me, so look, that morning, I had been clear that I was not going to fire scientists, that I was not going to commit to pre-approving vaccine recommendations without data and science. I had been very alarmed at the demands, and I had reached out as part of what I understood my obligations to communicate that to this committee. The secretary became aware of that, and in the context of those activities, he told me he could not trust me. I told him that if he could not trust me, he could fire me.
That's all I got. I yield back.
This final section exposes the central conflict, expectation of compliance versus obligation to truth. When leadership states they face demands that threatened integrity, the stakes become constitutional, not partisan. This matters because if public institutions can be pressured to pre-commit decisions without data, it undermines rational governance. The future consequence is clear. Public trust collapses when people believe truth is negotiable. This hearing isn't just about one official or one attorney. It's about whether America still allows its institutions to function with independence. If leadership is punished for seeking counsel, questioned for neutrality, and judged by loyalty rather than competence, then the system stops serving the people and starts serving power. Accountability requires tough questions, but it also requires fairness, credibility, and respect for institutional integrity. Because when political pressure replaces principle, democracy doesn't just weaken, it drifts, and that drift has consequences. Support platforms that defend truth-driven oversight. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA.